process where we kind of distilled them down and got to the top 3. And then they pitched at One Oak Stadium, and the crowd chose the winner. And it was amazing. And we had a great time. It was a little rainy that night, but anyway, it worked so well and it was so much fun that we decided to do it again. But we're going to make a year-long event of it. So this is the first of a series of pitch competitions. And the winner of today will end up competing next year. But to get them there, they will be availing themselves of Indigo's services. So that's kind of how that works along the way. So that's today. That's why we're here. We have, like I said, 3 amazing companies. We're going to start with Josette. And kind of the rubric, again, is that the judges have kind of their instructions, but it's not just about the idea. It's also their presentation. They're going to be presenting eventually in front of a crowd of people that have absolutely no idea what technology, they don't care. They're there for a ball game, right? So there's also a component of that is salesmanship and how engaging are you as a presenter, which is also very important to be as an entrepreneur. So it's a little bit of it's a traditional pitch competition with a twist, because we know that these ideas have to survive a crowd of about 7,000 people. So, because that's who's going to be voting. So without further ado, Josette.
Hi, everybody. My name is Josette Phoenix. I am the founder and CEO of 5 Stars App Solutions. For those of you who are Tulsa remote, you probably have seen some of my Slack channel messages. So I am here to present to you your very own personal chauffeur here in Tulsa. My background is French, so chauffeur means driver. So your personal driver. This is our team. I have my co-founder, who is Adol Bebe. He is also the Google DSC lead at Alabama State University. I currently work part-time with Ops Data. I have 3 advisors, one in Tulsa and one in North Carolina and one in California. I have an admin support in Alabama. So far, we're recruiting 2 other students in training, but we have 2 mainstream drivers. One is a student and the other one is a senior. And I'm also working on recruiting 1 sales associate for our B2B endeavor. So traffic congestion is caused by vehicles, not people. And we want to change the mindset to move people more into rideshare and to see the benefits of rideshare. So we got registered in June here in Oklahoma. We launched as a tech startup in September. We launched 4 apps. One is a health app. The other one is a taxi app, which is what I'm talking about right now. And then we have a soulmate app. I'll be presenting that next month on another event. And we have a few in beta phase and testing. So the Pick Me Up app is in operation. It's been in operation for 22 days. We released our first newsletter. It's at least 3.5K engagement on Facebook. We have about 151 followers so far. We've only been in business for 22 days, so we're still growing. We have 15 regular users for the Pick Me Up Tulsa. We are focusing more on Tulsa, and then we will move to Oklahoma City and beyond. Our estimated savings for our subscription-based users, because we have subscription-based users, we estimate at $680 a month, which means that if they purchase our subscription monthly, they can probably pay just $350 a month. Now, considering that most people are remote workers that come here, they get to spend money on shipping their cars or ditching their cars and then buying a car here, which is an additional expense. So you get to save $680 just by subscribing to us. You get to save your gas money, you get to save money for parking, maintenance fees, because maintenance goes up, the roads are bad in Tulsa. You get to save a lot more when you subscribe to us. Now, these are the features of the app. The app is made without code, so it's cheap to purchase and to develop. These are the app features. You could choose a ride, you could switch between being a driver or a user in the app, you could book ahead, You could find a rideshare buddy within the app. You could also download it only strictly from our website, which is the app store that we developed. We created our own so we can save our margins because I'm bootstrapping basically. So that's why I'm doing all of this with my team, thinking in terms of economical stability. And then easy install of the homepage on all phones, and which is going to save riders the stress of downloading. It's going to save them that. And this is some of the features and screenshots of the app. Now, coming to look at the target, why we believe it's going to work in Tulsa. It's going to work in Tulsa because 90% of households own a smart device. So that's a serviceable market. Also, we target 9.8% of people, households in Tulsa that do not own a car. 9.8%, that is our target market. We're also going to focus on the niche market, which is the remote workers. From census, we see that there's a population increase of 1.04% of remote workers in Tulsa. So we're sure we're going to work, it's going to work here in Tulsa. And we do not aim to compete with Uber or Lyft because we are targeted, we focus on targeted markets.
1 minute, Mark.
Yeah.
1 minute.
1 minute, okay. So these are some of the surveys we did and customer discoveries. The benefits to the rider, they get a personal chauffeur, they get a community to talk with, they get safety because I go through inspections that is not done in Tulsa. We do our own inspections. We get savings. The rider gets a lot of savings. There's reliability because we're always there. We're locals. We're always there. We don't cancel on you. We don't leave you high and dry. And then the benefits to the rider. I do profit sharing with my riders or with my drivers. I do profit sharing with them. There's flexibility in their schedules. And then for the community, we give back to the community. We are going to start a podcast about ditching your cars, which are something I'm very passionate about when it comes to the environment.
And time.
And that's basically our goal. So these are some of the stats so far.
Does that, you have to say.
That's our revenue.
Good job. Good job, good job. You're good, you're good. Now you can answer some of those questions.
That's my contact information.
Now, the differentiation between Uber and Lyft is what?
The differentiation. So I mentioned that for Uber and Lyft, when it comes to savings for Uber and Lyft, when it comes to the driver, most of them just pay them at least $3,000 a year. But for us, we give them a profit share. We provide profit sharing. And then for the riders, it's also cheaper because it's $150 for a month for 10 rides, which is cheaper compared to Uber.
And what's the average spend on Uber by Tulsans?
The average spend on Uber by Tulsans mostly because they're being canceled and they don't have as much. So $15 for 8 minutes, thereabout, for 8 minutes ride.
So your differentiation is your subscription model is cheaper, long-term.
Yeah, and reliable.
And your share profits with the drivers.
Yes.
On a drive basis, they get the profit, or on the company basis profit? Every time they do a transport, you give them an extra.
On a drive basis. Yes.
What is the average wait time that you expect for?
There is no wait time because you book ahead. You have a schedule. It's a subscription base. So you basically pay for the month, and we're always there. In fact, 30 minutes before time. So especially those who fly, we're always there. Sometimes there are delays in their flights. We're there, and you don't have to pay for that extra time.
So I can do this for $150 and you'll
For
have a
10
driver,
miles.
you'll have
For the
10
whole month.
miles. So you won't have a driver out front of my house every day.
Every day. So that's
But
how you
10.
save money.
But
For
the 10 max.
Yes, 10 miles.
And
We have different packages. You have the $250 package, you have the $350 package.
What's the 250 and the 350?
The 250 is for all week, no weekends. The 350 is, I think, the full, yes, 31 days.
And is it unlimited rides or?
The 350 is not unlimited. The unlimited rides is $500.
So
And that will save you, sorry, yes, that will save you a whole lot when it comes to expenses of a car, like on a daily basis. We all know if you're driving an SUV, you have to pay car note, which is like $300, $400 every month. You have to pay insurance, $150 up to, and when you when you move as a remote worker, your insurance price goes up, certain costs goes up, especially maintenance too.
You mentioned about your target market now. Could you just explain a little bit more about your target profile user? Who, like the type of person is utilizing this type of service? And why this is more valuable than just paying?
It's better
Uber?
if I show it here. Okay, so most of the people that have used us so far, we have 70% of men, and mostly we got them through Facebook. Most of them are hair braiders. They go very early in the morning, and they prefer to use our service because it's cheaper. The age group, we often have people between 40 and 70 years old. So they're older and they don't want to go through the hassle of driving. There's a lot of wreckage along the road, and also because of the bad roads and things like that. And most of the people that we have, this is our market that we have, the reason why they take us. 43% is for traveling. They go back and forth because most of them, their families are not here, they're remote workers. And then those who go to work, about 21%. And now we are primarily the only ride share that takes school kids as well, because I ensure background checked drivers. I also ensure insurance and registrations are in place before we do that.
And for these stats, how many customers or potential customers did you talk to kind of get to these numbers?
These are just the 15 users that I'm using right now. I just started, so yeah, this is percentage basis.
15 users and 4 drivers total.
Yes, so that's why I haven't completed my recruiting of the other two, because I'm looking at, that's why I'm out here, promoting it so that I can get more riders to make sense, to make it more sense.
Is there a cap on the per ride distance? How far you'll take it?
Oh,
So if I
no,
have 10 rides, will you take me to one city?
no, it's just within Tulsa. This is strictly for Tulsa, yeah. So the farthest distance you can go in Tulsa would be like 30 minutes, right? Or 45 minutes the most. So it makes sense for us.
And judges, 1 more minute of questioning.
Is there something about the Tulsa market that makes this type of service more advantageous than other Uber and Lyft? And are there more cities like Tulsa that are similar kind of demographics to make this product advantageous?
Yes, one of the reasons is that it's known, well, it's a perception because I haven't seen it here, but it's known to be the city with the highest crime rate. It's also known to be a city that encourages remote workers to come here. So these are some of the things we look for in order for us. We will not be having this in all different cities. With cities like here, Tulsa, in Oklahoma, also in Florida, we are looking, because where we have tourists, where we have a high number of tourists or remote workers who are not locals, these are some of the reasons why it will work here.
Yeah, one of the things on these types of deals as you go through this journey, you're going to want to get your head around is customer acquisition costs. What is the cost to get a customer? Why can I value those costs of those customers? Because that's what I play in.
So the customer acquisition cost, for now, the method that we're using is just 5% referral bonus. So if you come with a customer, you get 5% referral bonus. And that's the way we are using as, that's the only method we use to acquire customers. So yes, referrals. That's $1,350.
All right, that's it. Thanks, Joseph. We'll give the judges a few minutes and then up and running.
Is there a clicker?
Oh, Joseph, do you have the clicker? Yeah, Joseph's got it.
Yeah. It's right here.
Jason, we'll give them just a minute. Jacob, Jason. You're all J's today. So I failed to tell you there's a 6-minute time limit for the presentation, and there's also a 6-minute time limit for questioning, just so we can keep things moving. Oh, did they not?
There's one. I just been writing it on here.
Abby?
Yeah.
Can we have, they only had one.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, let me, I'll have to print a couple more.
Yeah, so we'll have to print 8.
What?
When they put the packets out. And you're finished, I'll grab your score. Oh. How do you know you're gonna get another
Right.
No, that's that. This weather, you know, like hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold.
I had them took it off.
Okay.
Wait, hold on.
Okay, we'll give them just a second to get kind of reassemble. Okay, we'll know it's the first time. So then how? So Jacob, and your time starts.
Hang on, let me stop watching. Our projector died too.
I don't know which one is it.
Her computer went to sleep.
Needs a password.
I know.
Try William Rock.
Feel like my background.
There we go.
Yeah, try Williams possible.
All right, Jacob, your time starts now.
So I just wanted to, the number 2 reason that businesses fail is the team. So before I started, I want to give you guys some context on our team. This company was started in 2015 by Sybil Baduku, and the team is launching their 2nd product. So Sybil has a long history of working with FDA. She's an FDA regulatory consultant, and the Angel has funded $850,000 so far on the company. And then Steve Bernhorst worked for Gap Salesforce and KPMG. He was CTO of Gap and helped them with their whole integration system. Maria Morgan is our chief clinical officer. She's a family therapist. And then there's me. And then I've scaled some companies here in 2 funds in the past. Have a lot of SaaS experience as well. So not something I just came up with on the back of the napkin between last week and today. So Zenby is the 2nd product that we're launching. We have a brand team and a legal team as well that's been supporting us. So we're excited to present to you today. We really appreciate all your time, investment in reviewing this opportunity. So therapy and mental health is a problem that not everybody knows about. When I was with Rising Tide GmbH, Maurice Kamar is a physician who was my boss. He lived in Schaffhausen, Switzerland. He committed suicide back in 2017. The company was being sold, and there was a lot of stress. But he was somebody who had it all. He was a physician. He worked for Merck before he came to Rising Tide. He worked for Rising Tide. He drove a supercar. He had a multi-million-dollar house, beautiful wife, and he had therapy problems, and he committed suicide. So this is a problem that I care a lot about, is because there's a lot of people just like him who have this problem. And it comes down to the stats here. So there's a lot of studies that indicate how often people that have mental health problems drop out of therapy. So after the first visit, 35% of clients drop out, 50% after the 2nd visit, and 65% after the 3rd visit. This is a big problem from a monetary standpoint from the healthcare system. So $37,000 of revenue is lost, assuming that the therapist charges $125 an hour and sees 25 patients a month, which is very low estimate. That's the estimate that we're going with for our stats. So Zenby is a solution. It's a mobile app that helps clients engage with their therapist. Between sessions, we have gamification and a few unique aspects, which we will go over. So here's a screenshot of the wireframes, not this is the wireframe, but of what the app looks like. So the idea is that there's a dashboard that interacts with you, reminds you to engage, and it gives you techniques to improve your wellness between visits with a therapist. The data feeds into the EMR so that the therapist can have information to guide the next visit. And then there's update status, and we use gamification, and you're able to talk to your therapist over here so that your therapist can know you and really have a personalized session. The market's huge. For behavioral health therapy, 220 billion, mental wellness is 121 billion, self-improvement is 34 billion. And we have 3 possible, there's three market sizes here for our 3 different target markets that we could aim at. But first, we want to go after the B2B segment, which are the therapist segment first, so 40 billion. In the US, from a bottoms-up analysis, with the 900,000 therapists, 880 million. Some of our teams in California, so we're showing that step 40 than 15 million therapists. Practically, if we sign St. Francis is our first client, which we think we can do, we would generate $70,000 in yearly revenue. Integris in Oklahoma City has 39 staff therapists. One of the VC firms that's doing due diligence with us has 2 firms in Texas that are 39 therapists to generate 40,000 revenue. It's not an uninterrupted marketplace. There's a lot of people that are doing stuff. Just like every good classical slide, we check all the boxes, right? But we really did. We wanted to include everything that the other market leaders are doing, but we also have a deep expertise on conflict resolution. So here's our business model. It's a freemium model, a software, so anyone can sign up. There's 2 parts to it. There's the mobile app that patients use, and there's the therapist dashboard. We can white label this for enterprises per member per month. If an enterprise uses this in the wellness program. And then there's the therapists and institutions. There's standalone therapists, and there's institutions or hospitals that have multiple therapists. This is going to be our beachhead market. Is going to be this institution therapist, unless we can't fund to build both the dashboard and the app, which in this case is the beachhead market. Projections, 58 million in 2026, 5-year projections. The Pepperdine free market shows that we would get a full return on that, or multiple on revenue, sell and exit, and United Healthcare just acquired Able to 400.
1 minute, Jacob.
So roadmap, here's our roadmap for funding the mobile app. Ideally, an ideal place to build a mobile app and test it with patients first, then build a therapist dashboard. We're going to refine it, then integrate the EMR, and then use emotional recognition, use of proceeds here. If we had a $500,000 raise. This is our exit strategy, Able to, which I mentioned from United Healthcare and Optimum, for acquisition markets as well. So EMR can acquire us. We want to partner with institutions, customers, to validate our apps. We're also going to go after NIH and NSF funding to validate the app to make it therapeutic. And then obviously insurance providers and showed you the enterprise model that we do there. So without further ado, I'll look forward to questions.
The
There you
last-
go. 10 seconds to spare.
The last slide was able to like exit for 47 million. What exactly did they do?
Yeah, so Able to it's a mental health app that fits into the wellness space. So they're very focused on wellness. I apologize, I haven't done as much due diligence on Able to specifically to tell you all the details of it, but I'd be happy to do more research and help out. They are very similar in the mental health space. It was an acquisition made early 2020. But so it shows that we wouldn't target United Healthcare, we'd target Cigna, Blue Cross Blue Shield for acquisitions. But it's just showing, I wanted to show you this as an example because it shows that there's interest in this space for acquisitions. And if we get to 50 million revenue with the Pepperdine private market data, a 8x multiple.
Is the app serving as a therapist, or are you bringing therapists onto the platform?
So therapists are using the platform. So the app gets data that goes into the EMR so that the therapist can have a more informed visit and they form a therapeutic relationship. So the data is showing that patients drop out because they feel a disconnect from the therapist. So the therapist doesn't know that they're understanding. When I say questions or ask them questions, they should already know. So they wouldn't have to ask those questions. It would be more informed. And then when they go home, the therapist says, do these things. Instead of handing them a paper form, hey, do these things. They have an app that reminds them, hey, log in, do this exercise, find wellness on your own. Think about your mental health wellness or your mental health problems. And then we give gamification and the exercises to do it. The exercises are clinically validated already, and we're just putting it in mobile app form. Test it a little bit more. We're using the DSM-4 criteria for diagnoses and exercises that are clinically validated for that. And so are our competitors in this space. So some of the other competitors are doing the same thing as well in terms of the therapist-led intervention. So all of these people, they have those exercises. We just have a different focus, and conflict resolution is something that isn't being specifically done by any of our competitors. And we really think in the executive enterprise, like at Phillips 66, be interested in utilizing that for the executive teams. And then the Healthy U dollars as well. They give you about $2 grand per person, so $1 per member per month is very reasonable. Selling ourselves short.
So you said between the therapist and the patient.
Yep.
And so your sell is to the system, and then press it through the therapist, or your sell is to the therapist?
So it could be either one, right? They're saying to one therapist, they make their decisions themselves. Our sell is to the institution. $200 a month for the institution, plus a $49 fee per therapist. We're double dinging the patient, so we're charging the system similar to an EMR, $5 per client per month, plus we have a premium app, so we would expect the patient to pay $10 per month, similar to what we do with the eye exam software for retinal eye exam. So this is our proposed model. It's an expensive model, so we obviously need less validation for that. We're gonna shoot for the moon coming out of the gate and see what happens.
So for the personal, that wouldn't be tied to any institution, it would just be strictly what's on the app.
Yep. So you can freemium model. You can enjoy. You can download for free and see it, and or you can pay $10 a month to upgrade. The upgrade has customization, so that there's prescribed customization for their patient, which is why they're paying $5 a month. And then we would expect the patient to pay $10 a month to access that. They would get their modules, but they could access the other services that weren't prescribed to them for $10 a month.
So is it fair to say you have both a B2C and a B2B model?
Yep, exactly. So B2C over here and B2B over here. And this is another B2B, which is why Mark segmentation. We've got 3 blocks of data. So B2C up here, data, B2B over here. And then this is the
Does the product look different? You have to build out a separate product for B2C versus B2B.
Nope. So one app right here that the patients use, and then one dashboard for the therapist. This is white label, so a separate white label box can sit over this module. If we wanted to white label it, or we could just give the entire enterprise our app, we'd probably white label it because when McKesson uses a brokerage firm, they white label it, the broker gives lots of institutions the app. So we've looked into that. We've looked into McKesson being one of these. We've got a couple of companies in California who are also interested down this route. And on our pro forma, we were very conservative. We estimated this because if you get 100,000 enterprise to sign up, it just skews your revenue.
You say white label, like say you sell to Williams. Williams is like the brand that Williams employee would see when they're talking to this online therapist.
Exactly. So Williams intranet would be there. So it would be Williams mental health powered by Zen.
Do you think that employees are going to divulge what they normally divulge?
So we could just brand it as, yeah, you're right. We could just brand it as Zenby. That's the idea. Is it's a disconnect. It's a way for them to get help. So you're right. Probably branding it as Zenby and not white labeling it makes a little bit more sense for it to be in their intranet, but the idea was in their intranet and brokerage place. But you're exactly right. There's that fear, right? We wanted to provide
30 seconds.
this service to them to be able to access mental health care when they wouldn't do it. So there's this faux pas, right? Like Marius is the perfect example of faux pas. He had everything together, but he had a mental health problem.
So one last question, if there's.
How much of institutions, like, we talked about the St. Francis Health System, how much are they paying for their health and wellness?
Yeah, so the market, I didn't do it for St. Francis, but the corporate health and wellness is $53 billion. But for St. Francis specifically, in Oklahoma, all therapists, there's 15 million. I mean, this is our bottoms up. So I don't have the answer to that question for you. I just know it's in this $53 billion. But I could get that answer. We'd be happy.
All right. Thanks, Jacob. She printed, well, she got it. She got more.
Oh, so when she printed both of, like, we only got one of those. So we
Oh,
didn't- yeah,
oh, okay.
She printed both pages, yes. So I need one more.
Last one.
Here, one more.
So just so, since they're finishing up, I'm curious, how many, raise your hand in the room if there's anybody with an idea or they're here thinking they might want to be an entrepreneur and they're just curious what a pitch competition really is. Nice. It's not quite Shark Tank. And for all of the contestants, they'll get these sheets back. So you'll get the feedback that's on the dead sheet. So you can use that for the future. Yeah. But I'll give you, obviously, I'll cut it and let you know. All right, judges, are you ready? All right, Jason, your time starts now.
All right, hey everyone, my name is Jason Matthew. I'm the founder of Lead Me Not. It's a mobile app focused on redefining accountability for the modern era. So accountability, it's a concept I'm sure all of us are familiar with. You go to the gym, you want to work out with a friend, they're holding you accountable for your physical well-being. You go out drinking with a friend, you give them your phone so you don't drunk dial an ex. They're holding you accountable for your mental well-being, right? Among many other things. But for our conversation today, I want to talk about accountability in the context of our digital habits. So what is accountability software? It's a market that's actually been around for 20 years. It's not a large market at all, but it's traditionally a multi-device platform that's focused on individuals making healthy decisions for their online behavior, specifically as it relates to consuming pornography, right? Adult sexual content. So the simplest way of putting it is, Alfred, if you're my accountability partner, anytime I access adult content on my phone or computer, you're going to get an alert, right? Through messaging and foster a conversation. So what's the actual problem? Pornography is a problem, right? 18% of American men believe they have an addiction to pornography, and I'm sure that is much lower than it actually is, right? But one person's pornography can be another person's Netflix or YouTube, or for me, I've struggled with addiction in the past with dating apps, right? And that's why I created Lead Me Not. And the reality is, in the world that we're living today, right? In the digital world that we're living, any one of these and more can be considered destructive digital behavior. Right? So the other part of this problem is the reality that today's accountability solutions have three gaps. So first, they're focused on defensive tactics. It's one thing to monitor your behavior and try to focus on behavioral change. It's another thing to be more focused on your heart and mind and understanding, man, what are my triggers? What's leading me down this path? And in addition to that, how do you become more proactive and not reactive in what you're actually trying to displace behavior? The other idea or gap is passive relationships, right? How do I move from this kind of shame-based conversation of you're my accountability partner and you're trying to help me move past what I'm trying to change into something that's actually focused on the core of our relationship that's stronger essentially. And the last idea that I alluded to is this inadequate focus on other destructive habits, right? What's out there today is largely looking at the issue of pornography, but failing to understand that there are other challenges out there that can be destructive. So that's where Lead Me Not comes in. We're the first application accountability software that is both proactive and holistic. Proactive in the sense of we understand users' triggers, we set a baseline, we identify patterns. Our first use case that we are focused on is pornography, to help take a more proactive approach to say, hey, we're 5 steps ahead of you before you ever access pornhub.com. And then the second is this idea of being more holistic so that you're not just focused on behavioral change, but you're understanding your heart and your mind behind what it is you're actually doing, right? So really quick description or help you understand how we're different. Covenant Eyes, first moving market leader, been around for 20 years, 70 million in revenue today. How this works, that's me, by the way. User goes online, they go and access adult content, report is sent to your accountability partner the next day, the partner engages the user, you're back to square one. For Lead Me Not, right, in my MVP experience today on Google Play, you onboard, you set your personal triggers. What's your why? What are you motivated by? What are you actually struggling with? Again, right now you can only choose pornography. You go online, you say, hey, I never want to be on Tinder, but I want to be on Facebook for no more than an hour a day. An alert is sent to both the user and the accountability partner. The accountability partner gets a weekly report. And then I, as a user, have the ability to reflect on that every evening as part of the understanding your heart motion. So who's our target user right now? We've only been focused on really going after individuals who already have this conviction and buy into the idea of accountability and radical transparency, right? There is a user in this story, a big user, that is not there yet, right? That looks at this and says, dude, who cares, right? I'm watching porn. Or I'm on my phone, it's not a big deal. But right now it makes more sense or most sense to be targeting these types of individuals. And right now we're free, right? But we live in a world that is completely SaaS-based, right? Covenant Eyes is $16 a month, accountable to you $7 a month. We can easily disrupt from a pricing perspective, but right now we're completely free. So what's my current state? Been in the market since February of this year. without any dollars put into marketing, completely organic. 11,000 visits to the Google Play Store, converted those into 1,000 installs, currently running 200 something users, current installs, right? So we have a user loss of about, I don't know what the math is exactly, but over the course of February, we've seen 800, we've seen more than 1,000 users. 600 of them have actually turned on what I call the accessibility service. So that's actually saying, hey, we're actually detecting and pulling data from your device. And right now I'm sitting in that 200, 300 range of active users. So my future is we have a redesign coming out this month. One of kind of my leading hypotheses of what's leading to my user loss. And then by the first half of next year, I started on Android to gather more data from Android devices. We have a machine learning model, version 1 that we've created that we're going to push into production by January. And then I need to build out iOS. And then from there, I have a vision that, again, continues to feed into this idea of being holistic.
And I'll stop you there. There you go.
Thank you.
Go ahead, judges consult.
How do you think you'll make money?
Yeah, so money will come from the subscription service model of individuals who are really bought into wanting to change. So my proxy right now is Covenant Mass. The fact that they have hundreds of thousands of users and they're charging $16 a month right now. And that's a user that is male, female, and children. Right? Their biggest buyer right now are mothers, women that are buying for their husbands who focus on porn, and then for their children as well.
So would you expect the user to be the payer, or do you think, are you gonna try to get someone else to pay for it on?
Yeah, I think right now, all my users are right now that no one's paying, right? But all my users right now are men, majority men who are focused on this change. But eventually, the biggest opportunity is having the end user or having the actual buyer be it for the end user.
Earlier you said that pretty much it's all organic the solution.
Yeah.
When you do kind of bring some strategies around like customer acquisition, what do you see kind of like just for now at least are some of the ways you're getting from customers?
Yeah, man, that's what I need help. But my go-to-market strategy right now has been going after, honestly, I moved here from Austin. That's really big from a faith perspective in the church, right? And Tulsa's actually, to argue, bigger. What's been really challenging right now is when I go into a church or a faith-based community, the fact that there isn't an iOS platform. So I believe there's a B2B play here in addition to the B2C, right? So B2C, let's just look past the fact that there's a lot of targeted ads you can actually do towards men and just assuming like, hey, you're probably watching porn, and how do you start building that conviction if you don't have it already? The B2B play, I believe, is really honing in on the faith-based community. But there isn't anything overt or explicit in the app about the fact that I'm Christian.
And earlier you talked about like tracking triggers.
Yeah.
Are those triggers going to be preset, or from a user can I like create like custom triggers for myself?
Yeah, that's a great question. So right now the triggers are all rules based. So right now you can go in and you can say, hey, I never want to access this particular application during a certain time of day. Feedback since February, it's not as intuitive. That's the redesign. But the machine learning model that we've created based on the 600 users worth of data that we've actually collected is purely based on prediction. But right now you only have a rules-based custom trigger creation.
With the accountability partner, are you able to choose who that person is?
Yeah.
Okay, can you kind of talk me through like exactly what that looks like on their end as far as, hey, I went to the website, as far as the feedback from that?
Yeah, sure. So right now, if you're an accountability partner, I add you, you're gonna get an email. Tilia Jason added you as a partner. I never do it though, don't worry. Jason added you as a partner. Here are his triggers. Here's the journey he's starting on, blah, blah, blah. If I were to do anything that's triggering, you would get a text message and an email in real time. One of the challenges right now are false positives, right? So I've been manually going through and looking at anything that's triggering. and curating that data, see like, hey, what's a false positive, and then feed it back into the data model. But so there's an annoyance factor there, the potential of it, that's actually reduced dramatically since February. But you would get an alert, and then we'd encourage you to, hey, to reach out to Jason, check in on him, see how he's doing.
I know you mentioned it being different. What was the?
Come.
Yeah, with you kind of go through, okay, my accountability partner was pinged, and then it kind of cuts off. So what is your step in, like, I guess, trying to prevent the addiction, or, you know, how,
Yeah. So like
what kind of differentiates you from that?
from the accountability partner's perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah. So right now in our MVP, it's more so fostering healthy conversation between the partner and the user, and trying to be more prescriptive. And hey, like if you're reaching out to Jason, here are the types of questions you could be asking based on what just happened. And that's part of the roadmap as well. So I tried to keep that part simple enough, even in content of like how we're communicating with the partner. And the fact that it's reactive and not the next day is another big piece of that, right? Because again, I would argue that I want to know in real time as an accountability partner what's happening versus the next day.
I mean, I think the data are pretty unequivocal that peer support works, right? Like, if you look at drug addiction, alcohol addiction, having a peer network dramatically the outcome of somebody trying to do it alone. Yeah. So that's real positive. I see your platform as also being kind of even more broad-based related to porn. I understand where you're in porn.
Yeah.
Not you specifically.
Sure.
Like that, the company in porn.
Yeah.
But you know, the reality is the platform can be used for all sorts of phone addictive behavior.
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
broadly. And I'm wondering if just from a market positioning, are you better off sort of leading with that as you're kind of felt like we kind of dove down,
Right.
then we came up.
Yeah.
So we went back in, right? And so wondering if like from a market positioning, are you really, because when we go back down, then we're right in the middle of going right at Covenant Eyes and others that are right in this market. Think about it broad, like market positioning, is it that, I don't know.
No, you're right. So once I push out the new trigger flow, I'll have the ability to do that. So I'm waiting until that, so that I don't have to update the listing the way that we're positioning ourselves, short of anyone. Like, again, my story is not based on pornography as much as it's digital addiction in the form of certain applications, right? So you're absolutely right. And that's my plan by this month.
Yeah, and as you go through your journey, clinical outcome data, the more you can show that compared to some level of control group, you can actually bend the curve in a sustainable way, because there's a big reversion and problem with these things sometimes. You get a spike in behavior, right? Then it goes right back.
Yeah.
So it's the 3 to 6 month data look real good. The 9 to 12 to 18 month data look exactly like
right.
And the predictive data stuff is really valuable if you can actually show that you can actually, based off of whatever algorithms predict these patients are going to go down this path, based off of something that you pick up in the other data sets. That's huge.
Sure.
Would you expect the
That'll be-
accountability partners
Last question.
to be kind of like employees or customer success people of the platform, or would you over time expect them to be users of the product that are also serving?
Yeah. So there's an experience that can be specific to the accountability partner that I haven't thought through completely yet. But so can you explain that idea of customer success?
So I mean,
I'm gonna cut you off just because we're so far over, but definitely the two of you should talk afterward, for sure. All right. Well,
so while we wait for the judges to deliberate, we have a couple more GEW events happening this week here in Tulsa. Tomorrow specifically, we're focusing the morning on food entrepreneurship. So if you are a wannabe food entrepreneur in the room, we will have a session on just the 101 food business basics at Mother Road Market in the morning. And then from 12 to 1 p.m., we'll have a big GEW wrap party. So if you just want an excuse to eat some free food at Mother Road Market, we would love to see you there. We'll also have a band playing thanks to one of our incubator members, Cadenzo. So we'd love to see you tomorrow at Mother Road Market. We also have an event tonight called Startup Grind. So one of our co-founders of Veranova, which is a health tech company here in Tulsa, will be talking about his journey as a founder from start to where they're at now, which is post Series A. They have about 50 employees and a really good market traction. So that will be at base camp tonight. I think it's at 6:30 p.m., but check out the GEW schedule for all of the details there. Thank you to our excellent judges and panelists. The deliberation is almost done, so we don't have too much time to stall. If anyone has a hard stop, feel free to exit. We also have a trash bin right outside, so please be sure to bring your lunch trash. And if you can stay to hear the winner of the competition, we'd really appreciate it. Thank you for being here.
Yes, when you were FaceTiming her. This is great.
Wow.
Make sure you do these. Make sure you, I was like,
It was so funny. So Rachel was opening at the campus. While I shut us level, I had to process that meant I needed to
Right.
here.
yeah.
And so she texted me today, and I was like, hey, I don't know if you know the opening base camp. And I was like,
Right.
nope. And she was ready.
Okay.
Like, this is the first day we don't work.
Like you
Feeling a
too.
little bit.
Exactly.
Time to shower.
And yes, and you should.
Yeah, and then of course,
Save the day.
all right.
First, I'm gonna catch your attention for really quickly so we can announce our winner. Do I need to back it?
Yeah, you can be in the space.
In the space.
All right, we all ready?
So the winner of the pitch competition by a fairly wide margin is Leave Me Not. So so what this means for Jason is obviously Indigo Technology is going to be working with him as he not only prepares for his next release, but also in the upcoming year as he prepares for his competition in front of the crowd. So we'll have to get that messaging. The sheets to all of the different competitors, and so, but I would encourage you guys, if you have questions, thank you very much to our panel, our judging panel, and then if you, the judges, if you have additional questions for any of the pitch competitors, we encourage you to.
For those of you as you head out, take the elevator down to floor 2 and you'll go through the revolving doors. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.